Hans, always great to talk with you.
Well, thanks for having me on with you.
Congress and ISIS committee files a civil lawsuit against Attorney General Eric Holder to try to get the documents they've been asking for months now. And House Speaker Boehner pretty much summed it up. He said the Justice Department really left them no other choice.
No, that's true because they were told by the Justice Department that the United States Attorney for the District of Columbia, who normally would enforce a contempt order issued by Congress, that he had no intention of enforcing this. That left the House of Representatives on its own, so that's why they have to file their own civil lawsuit to enforce the contempt order.
And also the fact, it seems to me that the key issue, or one of the key issues here, is the use by President Obama of executive privilege.
Yeah, that's correct, because the president has made this blanket assertion that all of these documents which the committee has been seeking are shielded from disclosure under executive privilege. What they're specifically talking about are documents created after February 4th, 2011. That's a significant date because that's the date that the Justice Department sent a letter to Congress saying, falsely, well, no, of course we didn't let any guns go across the border. 9 months later, they had to withdraw that letter, admitted it had not told the truth.
Right. And so wouldn't that in itself prevent the use of executive privilege because they're trying to cover something up or they're trying to shield a wrongdoing?
Potentially so, yes. You can't use executive privilege to shield wrongdoing, but it's going to be up to the judge that's assigned in this case now to decide whether or not the president has properly invoked executive privilege. And if not, he could order the president and the attorney general to turn over all of these documents.
Because the committee says, and I'm quoting from the document, no court has ever held that the privilege extends anywhere near as far as the attorney general contends it does.
I believe that is correct because the president did not say that any of these documents had to do with presidential communications. They're saying that there is a attorney-client privilege involved here, but many of these documents are at a very low level within the Justice Department, and it's hard to imagine how the advice and attorney-client privilege would attach to them.
What about other cases we've seen where this has been an issue?
Well, you know, the House voted to hold two of President Bush's advisors in contempt, Josh Bolten and Harriet Miers, during the last administration. The president asserted executive privilege, and a federal court said that no, executive privilege did not apply to many of the documents they were trying to shield.
And we also have the Nixon case, right?
Yes, we have the same thing in the Nixon case. And the Nixon case, in fact, is famous for what we just talked about, which is a court saying you can't use executive privilege to shield wrongdoing by government officials.
Mm-hmm. The fact that Obama invoked the executive privilege, Hans, so late, you think that'll set off some alarms right away with this judge? I know you're not the judge, but where do you think that will play?
You know, I don't know how much of a factor that will be with the judge. I mean, the one thing we do know is, and this is something that the House has asked for, is the House has asked for a list of all the documents that the Justice Department claims won't be turned over, because so far they haven't provided that. The president just asserted this blanket privilege over everything, but they didn't actually list all the documents, who originated them, who they were to, and what the subject was of each. And that, if the judge orders that produced, that's going to give us a lot more information about what it is exactly they're trying to hide.
How soon do you think we could expect the judge to do something like that?
You know, it may. I would actually think that the judge probably will schedule something fairly quickly within the next 2 months. After that, it could take a little while. It may not make it past the election, or it could go beyond the election for sure.
Mm-hmm. It'll be very interesting because Congressman Issa has said, you know, he is very confident that the judge will order Holder to turn over these documents. Your thoughts on that?
I think he has good reasons to be confident. I do think this claim of privilege goes far beyond anything that's been asserted before, and I don't think they've given very good and very valid reasons for it. I mean, just to give you one quick example, one of the things they've claimed privilege over is documents that were created to respond to media requests about Operation Fast and Furious. I'm not sure how you can argue that that is something that's privileged because it involves important advice to the president just responding to the media.
Wow. Is there anything else? I mean, you've had a chance to look over that document, not thoroughly, but quickly. Anything else that stands out?
Well, like I said, I think the main thing is that they make a point of saying this goes far beyond what's been happened before, and the president has not been specific about exactly which documents they're protecting. And at the very least, the judge is for sure going to order them to come up with a list. And like I said, that's really going to give us much more detailed information on what it is they're trying to shield and why they're doing it.
And on this whole, issue of executive privilege, you have the president and you have Holder saying, hey, we didn't know about it. We didn't talk about it.
Yeah, I really have a hard time believing that the Attorney General did not know about this, because one thing we have seen are emails, some of them leaked by whistleblowers, showing that his office, his chief of staff, was told all about this operation. And it's pretty difficult for me to believe that the chief of staff would not brief his boss about this operation.
And you look at that infamous February 4th letter, boy. Oh, boy.
Yeah.
It's causing all kinds of problems. But, Grassley, he was upset, and he has a right to be when you figure that they didn't tell the truth on it and took that long for them to withdraw it.
Yes, and the Assistant Attorney General, by the way, who signed that letter, he recently resigned. He's no longer with the Justice Department.
Got to ask you, the fact that the Justice Department has already turned over 8,000 documents, that Holder has testified a number of times, you have any idea what kind of weight that would carry with a court?
Well, that may sound like a lot, except that there's apparently upwards of 140,000 documents. So what they turned over is just a tiny amount of that. And apparently many of the documents that were turned over were so blacked out that it was very difficult to tell what they were even talking about or what they were saying. Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure that sheer number is going to have much weight with the court.
Wow. You think this is going to be a long, drawn-out process, though, no?
No, actually, I think this may go along pretty quickly.
Oh.
The case involving Josh Bolton and Harriet Miers, the prior administration, that worked along pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's interesting because all this is coming in the wake of the fact we're still waiting for the Inspector General's report.
Yes.
Stay tuned. The wheels of justice are turning.
Yes, well, yes, although with this Justice Department, they go very, very slow.